The assassins didn't flee after they killed Caesar. In fact, they did much the opposite. They marched through the city proudly, proclaiming what they had done, with their bloody knives and the caps of freedmen held high. Not only were the men not fearful, they brazenly celebrated what they had done. So how did they make it back to their homes in one piece? Why weren't they ripped to shreds by the urban poor who loved Caesar so dearly? Quite simply, Brutus and his conspirators were fortunate to have struck on the Ides of March, and many plebeians were observing the holiday by picnicking outside the city and getting very drunk. No specific date in Roman history is better known than the Ides of March, a day that is forever associated with the most famous assassination and the second most infamous betrayal in history. To us, the term is wrought with meaning. But prior to Caesar's death, the Ides of March was still remarkably significant due to its religious festivals and connection with the symbolic dawn of a new year. Before the Ides of March took on political overtones during the Principate, the primary deity being honored was the goddess Anna Perenna, whose festival celebrated the beginning of a new year, which had formally begun 2 weeks earlier on the 1st of March. Anna Perenna, the origin of our English words annual and perennial, was believed to be a goddess who presided over the cycle of the year and was associated with the renewal of life and the changing of seasons. The Roman year traditionally began in March, because this was the start of spring and the military campaigning season, hence its association with the war god Mars. The early Romans operated off of a lunar calendar and referred to days within each of their 10 months according to their proximity to the calends, the first day of the month, the nones, which was the 5th, 7th, or 8th day of a month, and the ides, which was either the 13th or 15th day of the month. If you feel confused, don't be embarrassed. It's an incomprehensibly bad system, and the calendar would frequently drift so severely as to be months out of sync with the actual seasons. No wonder the implementation of the Julian calendar was one of Caesar's first acts as dictator. Ovid tells us that plebeians particularly enjoyed the Ides of March, partaking in feasting and revelry as sacrifices were offered to Anna Perenna just outside the city. The festival was marked by singing, dancing, poetry reading, and plenty of debauchery as the people of Rome exchanged gifts and made wishes for the coming year. In Ovid's telling, it sounds like a pretty good time.
The common folk come, and scattered here and there over the green grass they drink, every lad reclining beside his lass. Some camp under the open sky, a few pitch tents, some make a leafy hut of boughs. Others set up reeds in place of rigid pillars, and stretching out their robes, place them upon the reeds. But they grow warm with sun and wine, and they pray for as many years as they take cups, and they count the cups they drink.
While the Ides of March was sacred to Anna Perenna, the Ides of every month saw public sacrifices of sheep made to Jupiter atop the Capitoline Hill by the Flamen Dialis, the chief priest of Rome's supreme deity. The final, and most bizarre element of religious life on the Ides of March was the Memoralia ritual, where an old man was dressed in animal skins and beaten by a crowd as they drove him out of the city. It sounds grim, but it's likely that this was done in good fun, as a way to symbolically expel the old year from the city, and that the senior citizen wasn't actually hurt in the process. It may have even been a mark of honor to have an animal carcass thrown over you while dozens of people hit you with varying degrees of intensity. We'll never know. The Ides of March was a time for the Romans to reflect on the passing of the old year and the beginning of the new, and to seek the blessings of the goddess for a prosperous year ahead. While the Ides of March was not the most significant holiday in Rome's religious calendar, and the conspirators were forced to act on this day as it was the last meeting of the Senate prior to Caesar's departure for his Parthian campaign, the symbolic connotations of the day as a celebration of rebirth would not have been lost on the conspirators as they planned their assassination. They succeeded in their initial endeavor, but failed in their ultimate aims, as their nostalgic vision of a lost republic was utterly at odds with the irreversible changes ushered in by Caesar. Instead of driving out the old and outdated, the conspirators desperately clung to it, and each would pay for this decision with their lives. But the death of Caesar did have one lasting impact, however unintentional. While the Republic would be firmly in the grave within just a few short years, they had successfully changed one aspect of Roman life forever. The Ides of March, previously a joyous day for celebration, became associated with mourning and tragedy. It wasn't the change they had hoped to create, but given the new world the senators found themselves in, it was all that remained in their power to create.
Hi, this is Titus from Tribunet. If you enjoyed the video you just saw by Gaius, and if you're interested in thoughtful content that explores the complex culture of the ancient Romans, don't forget to hit like and subscribe.